Bookcase and Coffee presents Buzzing About Romance, a quick shot of romance.
Hey everyone, welcome to A Quick Shot of Romance. I am Becky, and joining me for this quick shot of romance is podcast contributor Heather. Hi, Heather.
Hey, Becky.
We had to do a last minute kind of shuffle for this book, but I have to tell you, I'm not sad.
Oh my God, I'm not sad either. The fact that we haven't done a quick shot about this because it's probably you and I's favorite book.
Yeah, it's one of my all-time top favorites
Me
from this
too.
author. And it's also one that I reference a lot when we talk about like mutual masturbation and runaway brides.
Yeah.
And there's so many good pieces to this story. And I've actually been in a little bit of a reading slump for most of May and June. And I read this in like 4 hours. And then the next book I picked up, I got done in like a day. And so I'm like, maybe this is what I needed to break my slump.
I actually started with the audio and it was so good. And I was laying in bed listening to audio and I'm like, well, this is dumb. What am I doing? Like, I could actually just read the book. I mean, it's so good. I think I've read it 4 or 5 times and it only came out in 2020.
20.
Yeah.
20. It's just 2 years old.
It's so good.
So good. So on this episode of A Quick Shot of Romance, we are reviewing Game Changer by Kelly Jamieson, which, of course, you know, Kelly Jamieson, Sawyer Bennett, those were our, and Helena Hunting, that's what you and I bonded over. That was how we became friends. Was you were like, hey, have you read this? And I was like, hey, I have. Have you read this? And you're like, wait, I have. And thus solidifying the chaos that is Becky and Heather.
I actually started with Kelly in the Chicago Aces series. And it was either, I can't remember if it was this one or if it was the Cold Fury, but these were one of the first series. And I go back to the Chicago Aces all the time. They're some of my favorite books. And this is the last book in this series. And it ties together so many of Kelly's books.
It really does. And I did have a moment as I was reading this book that I thought, one, can we get like, I'd like to go back to Chicago with rookies because we're in New York with Kelly right now. Some of the rookies, I don't want a second gen. I just want some of the older, the guys that are young in this book, like Jackson and some of the others. I just like to see them in their later years.
I would love if like Jackson, if we got like a Christmas card letter from them, you know, that'd be great. Well, I love this couple so much.
She did her Christmas series with like Kat Mazira and Tess Thompson and Jamie Davenport. They did like a Christmas series this last Christmas. And was it in that? No, it wasn't in that book. It was in one of her New York Bears books that we dated the daughter of the GM of the Aces. And I'd like his story. Or just take me to Chicago, Kelly. Like, seriously.
I think I was trying to really wrap my head around why I love Jackson's book. While I love the story and I love Jackson and I love Molly, I just love Chicago, but the bulk of where the story takes place reminds me so much of my childhood. And it's I can like picture it. I think that's why I love it so much.
I also think, and we'll get to the synopsis, guys, I'm sorry. We're kind of giving you a pre-review here. The other thing I think that this is the standard is, in my opinion, this is the best off-season hockey romance. Because we still get the feel of what we want from a hockey series without gameplay.
I will say Kelly does this amazing because she did one in a Bears series where she's an agent. And so you get this whole, this push-pull that these players have, right? Like it's around this time of the year. So it's in June and July. July 1st is, free agency. I mean, teams are trading. Minnesota just lost one of my favorite players ever. And it's hard for these players because they're waiting to see where they're going to land.
And we get that with Jackson. And I want to give a special shout out to Kelly Jamieson and some of our other favorite hockey romance writing authors. They have a YouTube channel and they do a show called The Chippy Chicks. And if you haven't watched it, you totally should, because they kind of give an inside female take on hockey, but then they tie it into some of their books and their stories that they're telling. And so I will link that in our On the Shelf show notes for Game Changer.
Awesome.
Heather, read us the synopsis from Goodreads.
All right. Jackson Wynn. I don't want anything to do with my crazy family's drama, which I've been watching unfold from a distance over the last year. But now my grandfather has Alzheimer's, and I feel I need to at least make a quick visit to see him. My hockey season's over. All I have to do is get through my teammate Steve's wedding, and I'm on a plane to Los Angeles to do my family duty. After that, I'll head home to Manitoba for some summer R&R at the family lake cottage. Molly Flynn. Nobody's expecting what happens at my wedding, which becomes pandemonium. I need to get out of there fast. Who do I turn to? Jackson Wynn, one of my fiance's teammates. He's been a friend to me since I met Steve. For one night, we hide out in his condo, but he's leaving in the morning for California. I want to go with him. Jackson, I can't take Steve's fiance with me to California. He's going to flip shit over this. But the lying, cheating bastard kind of deserves it. And I've always had a soft spot for Molly, or maybe not so soft, because she's not only sweet and kind, she's hot as hell. This is a bad idea for so many reasons. And I sure as hell don't need more drama in my life, but I can't say no to her. On this nutso trip, neither of us expect Molly to bond with my bonkers family, especially my poor, confused grandpa. And neither of us expects to bond with each other.
It's so good. I love that blurb because, man, it gives you a lot, but not really. It doesn't give you anything. That's like the first 2 chapters.
I think from the very first, so I think in the prologue, it's Jackson and he's at a bar with his teammates and they're all talking about the wedding and blah, blah, blah. And then they kind of just start talking about what a cool chick Molly is. And that they know that this wedding is going to actually be fun because Molly isn't your typical girl. And then we jump into Molly at her wedding.
Yeah.
Wow.
So this released June 9th of 2020. It is a runaway bride, a vacation fling, a hockey romance, friends to lovers, one bed. And again, Kelly Jamieson does one bed and the towel scene like nobody's business.
It was good.
I adore her. And the wall of pillows. Like, I'm totally laughing as like he's like, we'll share the bed together. And it's a wall of pillows. And I'm like, that never works, people.
Here's the deal. I sleep with a wall of pillows. And I am telling you, after 18 years, we don't end up in each other's embrace. So it happens.
Really? I can't sleep with a wall of pillows. I don't know. It's just a lot.
I'm a full foot shorter than my husband.
I don't think I'm about 6 inches shorter than Mike. Okay, so this is a Wynn hockey book. It's number 5 in the Wynn hockey series. And this is a series of standalones. And the put out percentage is 58% for actual sexy time. But there is an earlier scene where he is in the bed and she is on the chaise lounge in the room. And she hears him enjoying some self-discovery.
Yes.
It is so sexy.
It is. And it's a little awkward. And then like the more you know Jackson, I'm like, I can't believe you really did that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because he's kind of a buttoned up character.
For sure he is.
He avoids his family. He avoids drama. He has some past hurt towards his parents. His parents are divorced. And there was some and this folds out in the entire Wynn series, so we're not really spoiling anything.
Mm-mm.
There's some animosity between his dad and uncle and his grandfather. Grandfather's a hockey legend. Dad and uncle are hockey legends. Dad and uncle own one hockey team in the LA area. Grandpa owns the other hockey team in the LA area.
His dad, Jackson's dad, is a coach. Basically, I think everyone in Jackson's family played hockey. His mom played hockey. His mom is a sports psychologist. His sister played hockey. Like, they all play hockey.
Yeah. Hockey is the bind that ties that family together. And Jackson does not work for his grandfather. He doesn't work for his uncle and his dad, where a lot of the other family members are somehow tied to the family teams. Jackson is happy with his distance out in Chicago.
Yeah, and he does not want to live in California. And so what it is like his grandpa was like a hockey god. Like, I view it as like he was like Wayne Gretzky. His first
Gordie
wife
Howe, that
died.
was my thought, but I think that
Gordie
ages
Howe.
me.
That works too. Yeah. So his dad, the grandpa was married. His first wife died. He remarried, and when he remarried, they had more kids. So there's like not two families, but like
it's two generations in one, because
and Jackson's aunt and uncle are his age.
Yeah. So it's created some animosity amongst the family members.
Mm-hmm.
There was some money issues, and then it came out that his grandfather was ill. He was forgetting a lot of things, and the step-grandmother, the grandfather's wife, was trying to cover things up and help and fix and repair. It just wasn't happening fast enough for the uncle and the dad until they finally had a discussion and figured out what needed to happen.
You mean communication?
Right. God forbid we do that. So let's talk about Molly a little bit, because she's a pretty dynamic character in this book.
She is amazing. She makes me laugh. I just love her. And she has some serious guts. I mean, she just was not going to put up with her ex's BS, and totally kinds of hands him his rear end at the wedding. It was phenomenal.
Well, and I don't think that's spoiling, because it happens in chapter 1. She reads a series of text messages that were screenshot and sent to her between her intended groom and the woman he was having the affair with.
And like, here's the deal. He said some super mean things about her. And it was, but I think on when you first read Molly, you're like, how crazy is this lady? And then all of a sudden, her and Jackson like take off and like major runaway bride. And I just picture Chicago and them like getting into a taxi in Chicago in her dress. I was dying. She does such a great job with that whole scene.
It was so funny. And, of course, Molly's got some tears in her eyes, and the one guy is like, do you need help? And she's like, no, he's a
like
good
a
guy.
homeless guy.
Yeah.
Well, and I think on the onset, you think, like, how level-headed is this girl? Because, what happened is traumatic. You just, left your soon-to-be husband at the altar, like, all these, but she's very level-headed and super insightful, and she's just kind of the girl you want to be friends with. Like, well, she's awesome.
They totally go back to Jackson's apartment and get drunk on tequila, and in the middle of
pizza,
and in the middle of drinking tequila, she's like, I want to go to California with you, and he's like, whoa.
Oh. Yeah.
Maybe you'll change your mind in the morning. And then she's like booking her flight.
So she comes in the morning and she's like, so what flight are you on? And he's like, whoa, hang on. Let's rewind here, Molly. And then she has nothing. And so they're at Target. And I am just dying laughing because I can see that happening. Yeah. Well, I'll just stop at Target because we all know Target's got everything I need.
right? One of the things in this book, and it's not really miscommunication trope, because they don't not understand each other. Jackson sucks at communicating to anybody.
Anything? Yeah.
Like, he doesn't communicate to his mom, who he's desperately close to. He doesn't communicate with his father. So he's held this grudge that his father did this wrong to his mother and caused them to get divorced for like 20 years. Dude is not good about talking about his feelings, and it comes to bite him in the ass with Molly.
For sure. She does. I think she's a teacher. And I think that's maybe why I like her too. So this also kind of brings into the fact that like it's June and she can just leave, you know, and head wherever. I think she lays breadcrumbs for Jackson. Like, she'll lead questions and then she changes the subject and then she circles back around. So gives him time to think about it and then gets him to, like, she pulls the information out of him. Do you know what I mean?
Yep. So, and we said this is a vacation fling book. And one of the things is there's 2 locations in this vacation fling. And I really love, again, I think this is a perfect example of what I want on a vacation fling romance. They're outside their bubble of everyday Chicago. The first part of the book takes place in California. They're at a resort. There's a scene where he gets all butthurt because she's talking to people at the hotel while he was out with his family.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like,
she's just like the person who's friends with everyone.
Yeah, she makes a friend everywhere she goes, and he acted like a turkey face. Like,
yeah,
dude.
and like his whole family is like, they put like his cousins or whatever basically put her on the family text chain like right away because they're like, we love her.
Yeah.
And it's like, what is happening?
Well, and then he's mad at them a little bit because they're like, where's Molly when he shows up for something?
Yeah,
they're like, where's
me?
Molly? And he's like, I didn't think to bring her.
Yeah, well, his family is a dysfunction junction, but whatever. So Jackson, you know, I just think you can't help but love him.
You really can't. You can't help but love him. And so the second part of this book, this is where you really fall in love. This is where he shows his swooniness, is they actually leave California and go back to Chicago to kind of finally get her stuff out of her fiance's apartment, which they've learned that the fiance went on the honeymoon with somebody else, with the mistress. So she's trying to get things out of her apartment, but she still has another month before she has to start worrying about school and stuff. She does not want to stay in Chicago. And so I think on a whim, Jackson's like, why don't you come with me to Manitoba with my family lake? And she says yes. And I think Jackson's like, it was one of those situations where he was like, I didn't think she was going to say yes, but she said yes. But
let's go.
It was so fun. And he has some big swoony moments at the lake, sleeping bags and the stars and the aurora borealis. And when she's like, when they're talking about the wild creatures that could come into town, and she's like flipping out. And she's like, I'm a city girl. This is not okay. And he's like, you'll be fine.
Yeah, and I think too, you see that Jackson stays busy to avoid his feelings. And so you see that side of him in California where he's like, okay, we're going to go kayaking. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. And he stays busy to avoid his feelings. And then when they get to his family lake cottage, there's nowhere to run from your feelings.
Well, and the other piece that we haven't really talked about this is Jackson's at the end of his contract with the Aces. And now it's off season and he needs to renegotiate. I think he's a restricted free agent because the negotiations are with Chicago. He's not being offered other cities yet. So he has a contract negotiation that is weighing fairly heavy on his mind. And that plays out throughout the whole book. So I don't want to spoil that because I think that really also shows some big emotions for Jackson. His whole identity, his whole of who he is tied up in that he is a hockey player. And when he's with Molly, it doesn't matter as much.
Right. And the other thing we never talked about is that Molly and Jackson were actually friends. Like, while he was her ex-fiance's teammate, Jackson and Molly bonded very quickly over trivia nights, and they became trivia teammates. So they have hung out before. It's not that, you know, it was just random, but they're trivia teammates and they have this like special handshake and they're buddies. Yeah. And I think Jackson then starts to see Molly in a different light when they're at the cabin.
Yeah.
But he is a definite caretaker. You can tell at the cabin, especially, how he takes care of her. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, he really does. Okay. So let's get to our questions because we don't want this to run too terribly long. Heather, did you like this book? These are so dumb with this book.
I know. I just really adore this book, and every time I read it or listen to it, it gets better and better. They're just a really great pair.
So here's a funny thing. When I first read and reviewed this book, I gave it 4.5 stars. And I was kind of mad at 2020 Becky because this is a 5-star freaking read. I do not know what my problem was.
It's just it's a really well written book.
It is. And it holds up. And it doesn't feel awkward. And, you know, we all know that I poo-poo Friends to Lovers at every chance I get. This is probably the best Friends to Lovers that I've ever read. Like, it is just that good. Well, there might be a book by a certain Sawyer Bennett that is pretty high up there too.
We say like, 56%. Maybe it's a slow burn. It made total sense. It needed to be where the pop needed to be where it's at.
Yeah, it couldn't have happened later because it would have felt disingenuous given everything she had gone through. Okay, who do you think would typically like this book, Heather?
If you are if you love Friends to Lovers, if you aren't sure if you would like a sports romance, this is not heavy sport talk.
Really,
but like,
you would have to be a monster to not like this book. Everybody will like this book.
Yeah, and if you kind of like a funky family dynamic, this totally is a great book to read.
Yeah. And then Heather, would you recommend this book?
Oh my God, I'm sure people want me to shut up about it. Yeah, I would. You should read it. And if you don't read it, we can't be friends.
Right. Everybody should be reading this book. And it can absolutely be read as a standalone. You do not have to read the others. You aren't going to miss out on anything by not having read the others, but you're missing a really good time if you aren't reading the other ones.
Theo Wynn. It's book 1 in the series, and he's a major book boyfriend.
He's so dreamy, and it was so funny to see in this book, Grandpa makes a couple comments about Theo running off to get married, and then about is it JP who is dating his brother's girlfriend? Oh my God. So many fun things.
The series is hilarious. It's a really good series, and it ties together, like I said, with the Aces. And then there's a little bit of, maybe some of the...
Well, not in these books, but when you go over to the Bears, we get some glimpses of the Wynns in the new series, that the Bears and the Bears 2 series that she's doing right now. Okay, so do you have a book you think we should review for a quick shot of romance? Send us an email to thebees@bookcaseandcoffee.com, and we will add it to our TBR. We recently did this. We had Amanda who suggested a book to us. I read it. It made it to a quick shot. So seriously, send us the book recs. We'll get them added to our list. Heather, thank you so much for joining me for this quick shot of romance.
Anytime. I'm always happy to talk about books with you.
Until next time, everyone, happy reading.
Find us on Instagram at buzzingaboutromance or on Twitter at buzzingromance. If you like the podcast, please leave a review. If you'd like to support us directly, join the Bookcase and Coffee Patreon and receive exclusive content only available to Patreon members. Check out bookcaseandcoffee.com for our on-the-shelf show notes,